All right, welcome to another Las Vegas market update. It is August the 8th. This data comes from July. That's why I put in July 2025. But today is August the 8th. I am Nathan Robart, your real estate and mortgage specialist here in Las Vegas and in Nevada. We also have a team in the Reno market. Okay, so again, I always like to kind of preface these videos by saying that the majority of the data that we're going to be talking about, we're talking about Las Vegas only today. I am going to give you a little insight as to national news, kind of what we're seeing there. But we primarily pull data from resale single family homes, not condos, not townhomes. I don't even include new home sales. The majority of the people that I work with are just buying your typical resale single family home. I don't do a lot of condos. I don't do a lot of townhomes. We can cover any of that stuff, but primarily these Las Vegas market updates are just resale property. And so today, what I want to start with is I want to give a little national context. I always get asked the question of, hey, Nate, how's the market? Because they've been watching news, right? And most of the news is kind of on a national scale. However, I do kind of want to add a little context based on what we're seeing in the national news. Now, I'm sure that you can probably guess it's usually not that great, but this is kind of what we're seeing right now, right? These are different articles that I've pulled from the past 4 weeks nationally, right? More people are late on both their mortgage and student loan payments. Another bad sign for the economy. It's not a lot of great news. Harvard report: soaring prices, high rates lock out United States buyers. Again, this is the national message that's going out. Housing market set for the worst year in decades. That's for 2025. And then, of course, this has been floating around quite a bit. There are nearly 500,000 more sellers than there are buyers. Look at this. The red line going up, the blue line is buyers. So nationally, that's kind of what we're hearing. Housing is where the buck stops. The nightmare scenario for America's real estate market. Rising mortgage and student loan delinquencies signal deeper buyer stress and potential demand erosion. Soaring home prices, record low sales, and high borrowing costs are knocking out many would-be buyers. I mean, the narrative right now is that man, the real estate market is crashing. It's impossible to buy a home. If you're looking to buy or sell, it's terrible. So I just I kind of want to temper that a little bit. Keep in mind that real estate is local. Okay. So what they're pitching on the national news um, it is an average of all the different metros around the United States, right? All the major metros. And so, what's happening nationally may not be the same in Las Vegas or Austin or, wherever you live. But we're going to talk about Vegas today only. And so right now, nationally, you're hearing a lot of negative news, but it's not as bad. And keep in mind that real estate, adjustments, they don't happen overnight. So if we do start to see certain things go down, it takes a stinking year or two sometimes to see things go down or go up. So it doesn't happen overnight, and it's not always the same, specifically in your local area. So let's talk about what's going on in Las Vegas, kind of see how that compares. And I'll say this, we are seeing a softening of the market. We're not seeing a crash. We're not seeing all of a sudden it's a buyer's market. It does depend on what price range you're in. But again, the average price of a home is about 475,000 right now. So keep in mind throughout this entire market update, my experience is that we're seeing a little bit of a softening in the real estate market, right? Not so much a seller's market anymore, but it's flat out not a buyer's market just yet. We're kind of floating in the middle right there. So I'm going to take kind of an extreme view in some scenarios, but in other scenarios, I'm just going to kind of temper your expectation. All right, so let's get started here. Median price of a home right now is 476,000. It did just drop month over month from June. Typically, we actually see property values go up from June to July. But this year we actually saw it go down, and we've only see a less than 1% increase in property values year over year right now. So what does that mean? Again, this is kind of perfect to what I'm saying. We're not seeing property values just shoot up. We're seeing it kind of soften. We're seeing a rebalancing of the real estate market right now. And for a number of reasons, right? There's a number of reasons. We'll kind of go through that. So median price is about steady, kind of where we saw it about a year ago. Homes for sale. This is inventory. This is your immediate competition, right? If you're thinking about selling your home, you want to know how much competition is out there. If there's a lot of competition, then you may have to adjust that price. If there's not that much competition, then there's more buyers out there and you probably can get a little bit more for your property. But right now we're seeing about a 33% increase from last year, which sounds like a lot. But historically speaking, 7,133, which I know for the majority of you, that's irrelevant. It's just a number, right? We're seeing inventory levels go up, but we're still kind of where we were at back in 2019. So I don't want to oversell all these homes on the market because while over the past 2 or 3 years, we actually are seeing inventory levels go up 33% from last year. The reality is we're still about the levels that we were pre-COVID. And, 2019, I don't remember everybody saying the sky is falling or, it's a crazy buyer's market. It was just a normal market and then COVID hit. So let's kind of keep that in perspective. However, again, let's stick with this softening narrative. As we see more homes hit the market, sellers or homeowners, if you're thinking about selling your home, we're not in the seller's market that we saw in 2021. So just be cautious. If I sit down with you and I say, hey, listen, you just can't ask an arm and a leg, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just trying to shoot straight with you. All right, let's talk about buyer demand right now. What are pending, how many homes are going into pending status? How many homes are selling? We're still seeing historically low numbers. Now, we did see a little bit of an uptick in these numbers over the past month, which is normally a little bit opposite of what we typically see here. But I like pulling up this 10-year graph just to kind of keep these things in perspective. The average number of homes that go pending or that go sold typically are at a much higher rate than over the past 3 or 4 years, right? So, and this is buyer demand. And what is holding buyer demand back right now? Why is it so low? There's two main things, right? Property values are just really high. So you have a lot of buyers saying, oh, it's unaffordable. Property values are just really, really high. And the other thing is, of course, interest rates. Interest rates have been up. They've been up pretty high, 6.5, 7%, right? Over 6.5, 7.5%, give or take, right? So this year, as of today, or actually I did this about 2 days ago, the average 30-year conventional rate was coming in at about 6.55. Last year, it's about the same. So over the past year, we haven't really seen interest rates change. Now, if I would have done this data 2 weeks ago, it would have been closer to 6.75, maybe even 7%. But over the past 2 weeks, we had a jobs report that came in pretty ugly. And then we saw interest rates just kind of drop down, right? So, what does this mean from a buyer standpoint? Well, buyers, and even sellers are saying, hey, listen, we want to see interest rates come down. That frees up buyer demand. That may free up a little bit more inventory, but I don't think so. I think we're going to have to see a pretty considerable interest rate drop, and I don't really know if we're going to see that happen. Right now, buyers are just saying, hey, listen, it is what it is. 6 to 7% interest rate is kind of what we've been seeing for the past year for sure, past couple years. Will rates go down? I don't know. So there's probably a lot of buyers on the fence that are still kind of waiting for interest rates to come down. There's still a lot of sellers on the fence right now that are waiting for the interest rate to drop enough so that they're not stuck in their 2% mortgage. So, I don't think the interest rate reduction right now over the next year is going to see a massive amount of inventory hit in the markets. There's just too many people with 2, 3, 4% interest rates. And I don't think that's enough of a swing for them to put their home on the market and then go back into debt with a 6.5, 7% interest rate. It's going to free up a little bit, but not that much. And then for buyers, anytime we see rates come down a little bit, you're going to see a few more buyers jump in. And listen, theoretically, if rates continue to go down through the rest of this year, then absolutely we're going to see buyer demand pick up. But I caution you guys, if we see that, it's going to be a bit of an aggressive market. It may swing back into a very aggressive seller's market. There's still just not a ton of homes on the market. Inventory levels are picking up and that's fine, but historically we're still, not too crazy. Okay. So current rates right now, this was, I think, as of maybe yesterday, the day before, 30-year fixed conventional. Typically, what kind of FICO score do you need for that? I think, 680 to 700 minimum. maybe putting 20% down. That would be an ideal scenario for like a second home or your second home that you're buying where you have a little bit more money down. If you're looking to do a 15-year fixed, you can get this for a whole lot cheaper, 5.92%. Of course, jumbo loans kind of up in the higher price ranges. And then you've got ARMs, which I'm not going to mess with that. But FHA, right? Your typical first-time home buyers generally going to buy a home using an FHA loan, 3.5% down. That's actually coming in a little bit cheaper at 6.12, 6.10. And then, of course, if you're a veteran, thank you for your service. You have the ability to use a VA loan, and that's coming in about the same. FHA, VA interest rates kind of come in about the same. And the benefit of the VA loan is 0% down, right? FHA is about 3.5%. With a conventional loan, you can do on your first time home, you can do a 3% down payment. Your interest rate's probably going to be a little bit higher, but typically it's 5, 10, 15, 20% for a conventional. Just to kind of give you an idea of where I'm seeing rates right now. All right. So I always like to talk about days on market. I always get the question of, hey, Nate, how long is it going to take before my home sells? On average right now, we're seeing listings get an acceptable offer in 25 days. That just simply means that it takes about 25 days on average. If you're priced right and your home looks good and it's accessible for you to sell your home. Okay. So how long does it take to get your home sold? Well, if you get an offer in 25 days, generally, typically, the escrow process takes about 30 days. All right. So you can kind of expect a 55-day swing from accepting an offer to closing on. So 55 to 60 days on average. Now, if you want to speed that up, obviously, listen to your real estate agent, price it a little bit more competitively. And of course, if you want it to take significantly longer, then don't listen to your real estate agent. Don't price your home competitively, and it absolutely will take longer. Now, I put in here up 78% from last year. A little deceptive. Again, if you're getting an offer in the first 3 weeks, pretty normal stuff, nothing too crazy, but we are starting to see this pick up, which makes sense because we're seeing a little bit more inventory. We're not seeing buyer demand kick up all that much. So the fact that we're seeing homes sit on the market for just a little bit longer, that's pretty normal. Now, we're not in a buyer's market. It's not crazy. Home sellers, if you're thinking about putting your home on the market, we're not talking, 60 to 90 days before you get an offer on your property. We're simply talking like maybe 3 weeks, maybe worst case scenario, 4 weeks on the market. And it's usually, and to be honest with you, that's usually when you overprice your home a little too much. I mean, we're getting offers on homes in the first couple weeks. I'm seeing that happen quite a bit, right? So, just kind of put that in perspective, 55, 60 days from the time your home hits the market to the time you actually get your paycheck. That's kind of what you can expect. Okay. All right, list to sold price ratio. This kind of lets me know what kind of market that we're in. I think you're already kind of seeing the pattern. Sellers are still getting about 98% of their asking price, right? So across the board, on average, sellers are still getting about 98%, nearly 100% of their asking price. And so I don't want to say I still think sellers probably have a little bit more leverage, but the market is definitely balancing out. And the reason why I say that is because if we look at the months of supply, how many months will it take to complete, if we don't put another home on the market, how many months will it take to completely run out of homes in Las Vegas? And right now we just hit 4.2 months. Now, other than the interest rates going through the roof in 2022, right? We haven't seen 4.2 months supply. We kind of hit 4 back in 2019. Maybe that was a little bit pre-COVID. Since about 2000, the end of 2015 is when we hit 4.2 months. So we definitely are seeing things slow down and soften a bit. Are we flat out in a buyer's market? No, absolutely not. And especially if you're at the lower price range. As you go up into the higher price range, the luxury home, I would absolutely say we are in a buyer's market. But at our average price of 475,000, it definitely just feels like we're in a very balanced market. And to be fair, it may be leveraged a little bit more on the sellers. If you've got a great looking home, it's priced right, it's accessible. You know, it feels good, smells good, looks good, priced right. then yeah, you're getting offers pretty quickly in that first week or two, right? But if you overprice your home, kind of a dump, you haven't really taken care of it, you don't listen to your real estate agent, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to sit on the market for a little bit of time. So this kind of puts in perspective where we're at. We are definitely seeing a bit of a softening, but let's not overthink it. All right, so I always like to let everybody know because I get asked that question. How many people can we expect going through our house before we get an acceptable offer? Right now, we're seeing about 7 to 8 showings before, on average, home sellers in Las Vegas are getting an offer. Now, there's two things I want you to pay attention to, and I always said this. Listen to buyer feedback. They have no emotion, right? They're going to tell you like it is. If your house smells like cat pee, or if your paint colors are terrible, they're just going to tell you, "Hey, I'm not interested. It smells like cat pee. Purple's maybe not the best color, green's maybe not the best color," type thing. Listen to them. I know it kind of hurts your feelings, but buyers should be able to just shoot straight with you. And the second thing you want to pay attention to is days on market. So if you have a home up for sale and you've had 7, 8, 9, 10 people come through the property and you still haven't received an offer on your property, or let's go back here, if you've been on the market for 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 35 days on the market, you're probably not listening to buyer feedback, and you probably need to make a bit of a price adjustment. So just keep it real. I mean, selling a home does not have to be uber complicated, right? Your home looks good. It's priced right. We put out our marketing program for your property, right? There are going to be people. There's demand right now. There's not tons of competition. Your home should sell in a reasonable time frame. And if it doesn't, you may want to just sit down with us. Hey, how many people have come through the property? What have they been telling us? What is the feedback? Maybe we need to make an adjustment. I'd like to say that, we pick the perfect price every single time, but sometimes you guys want to experiment with price. Sometimes we are a little off on our price. Sometimes you make a price adjustment, right? That's just the way kind of real estate goes. Okay, so real quick, again, 476,000 average price. We are seeing inventory levels pick up. Pending and sold still historically low, even though we're kind of seeing that tick up because interest rates just came down, right? So we're seeing a few more buyers come into the market. However, we got a 4.2 month supply. That is balancing. That is not seller advantage. That is definitely balancing. I think 6 months on the market is flat out buyer's market. 4 to 6, in my opinion, is a balanced market. 3.5 or less, 4 months or less is a seller's market. It's taking on average about 25 days to get an accepted offer on your property. An offer that's acceptable. There's two different things there. An offer that is acceptable, but sellers are still getting about 98% of their asking price, and we're seeing about 7 to 8 showings before you actually get an offer on the table. So that is this month's Las Vegas and national market update. Again, just as a reminder, July data. Today is August the 8th. My name is Nathan Robart. If you are looking to do real estate or get a mortgage in the state of Nevada, I mean, we have teams in Reno and Las Vegas. I'd love to be your guy. We have a great team. We'd love to do business with you. So drop a comment. If you disagree with anything on this video, please leave a comment. Let me know, Nate, I think you're crazy, and here's why. I may change my perspective on something. I don't know everything. I just like to have a little bit of fun with this, give some good context to my clients, my people out there that know, like, and trust me. So yeah, love to do some business. Thank you so much for watching today. Bye-bye.